Well, reduced inequalities mean that we want to narrow the gap between the different groups and in terms different sectors in terms of income, opportunities, the way that different citizens of different groups are treated, the various rights that are available, and accessibility to various groups. So reduce these particular inequalities is basically us narrowing them despite a person's gender, disability status, or even their background. So we want to, in the Namibian context, this means that we want to make explicitly all these accessible to people of all backgrounds, despite their circumstances may be.
And what are some of the biggest challenges people living with disabilities face in Namibia today?
So one of the challenges that are faced by persons living with disabilities in Namibia today are majorly employment exclusion and the fact that there is somewhat a discrimination towards persons with disabilities. I mean, yes, we do have laws and policies that ensure that they are given a priority when it comes to the hiring process, affirmative action and all. However, what we have come to notice is that these policies are only there for businesses to check boxes. So it's not that we really want to be inclusive. It's not that we really want to help persons with disability take up space in the various industries and markets that we have, but it is mostly that we just want to check the boxes and tell the government, I have one person who is deaf in my company. I have one person. I've made wheelchair accessibility to my business, but it's not being implemented as it should be on the ground. And of course, the accessibility to information. So there is a big gap, especially for the deaf community, when it comes to access to information. There are so many things that have been happening, even in Parliament, that deaf people are not aware of because there is no interpreter in Parliament. So the language barrier really makes communication difficult, and this also makes then the access to various information in terms of lawmaking policies and everything else happening around our country. It makes it difficult for
Mm.
persons with disability to access such information.
Yes. Now, Lenia, that brings me to my next question. And accessibility is more than just ramps and lifts. In your view, what does true accessibility look like?
Well, true accessibility is not, it's not just something we can put in a bubble, and say, okay, we have accessibility now. We can access different things, and
Mm.
you have Google at your fingertips. You can basically get whatever you need because it's available to you. But there's a difference between actually being able to have those things available to you in reality and not just through internet or social media as we make it seem. So true accessibility is essentially multidimensional, and we need to design some sort of system or infrastructure where we can cater for persons fully, where they can participate, where they can be also as independent as possible. I think that is the true definition of accessibility in my sense, which is mainly giving persons with disabilities an opportunity to thrive independently, where they can have as little supervision, as little guidance, and as little dependency to other persons as possible. And this can be in various ways. It could be actual physical accessibility in terms of roads, workplaces, schools, elevators, escalators, and so forth. And it can also be in terms of information and communication. Have sign language available countrywide. And I think one of the major leaps that we've had recently is on the 24th of September, through the deaf community, we have launched a Namibian Sign Language app, and that is part of accessibility. The deaf community wants everybody to be accessible to sign language and not just for them to continuously struggle getting interpreters and so forth. So this is one of the things that help others feel as if they are truly being included in their environment.
Mm. And how would you say Namibia is doing in terms of creating equal opportunities in education and also employment for people with disabilities?
We have great policy frameworks. We have great legal documents and so forth that
Mm.
that aid us legally, by law, such as the National Disability Council Act of 2004 has stated that all services should be accessible for disabled persons, and they need to be integrated and not put aside. you know so these are one of the things that have allowed us to have to bridge that gap a little bit in terms of education and employment. As we know that there's always a preference, in terms of capability. When somebody is of the community, either deaf community, or they have some sort of disability, they get preference provided that they meet those requirements. So affirmative action is definitely in full force in various workspaces. But also, we need, in terms of education, we have many students with disabilities who do face some difficulties. However, there is support that is being given to them. There are support services that are provided to them in terms of social assistance and social counseling services. And there's a lot of education that takes place, awareness campaigns that happen through various times of the year. So education wise, we are on the ground. We are doing quite a lot of work when it comes to creating awareness and helping the community accept persons who are not necessarily looking as normal, or who are not as the same as them.
And just finally, looking ahead to 2030, what is your hope for Namibia when it comes to reducing inequalities?
Well, I wouldn't be speaking with you today, Marcelo, if I was not an advocate for
Yes.
the inclusivity. And my major, major hope for Vision 2030 would be that we be fully inclusive, especially in our education system. We need, from early childhood all the way through tertiary, we need to create a system through education where we encourage persons from the time that they're as young, even I want to go as young as babies, even, because that is where true learning takes place.
Yes.
And that's where you can really make an impact. When you start with a community all the way from the ground up, that is where you can really make an impact. And of course, I wish for us to have robust social protection and support systems for persons with disabilities. There is still a lot of social exclusion that happens. And my hope is to see that various communities and many persons actually open their eyes and say, this could be my brother, this could be my sister, this could be anybody who is very close to me. And in turn, it could also be me. So we need to open our eyes and really dive into accepting others and have this Ubuntu concept where I am because you are. We
Mm.
thrive together, we work together, and not necessarily exclude one another just because one or two things are different.
Yeah.
So that is something I hope that we get to change and improve. And also, we definitely need a culture shift. We need participation, we need awareness, we need health providers, we need communities to be more aware and contribute to the acceptance and the recognition and inclusion of persons with disabilities.